Content Class 2016, Physical and Health Education 1, Djp-Phe12, presenter Ansie Steyn. Good day, I'm Mrs. Ansie Steyn, the presenter of this class and your tutor for 2016 for the subject Physical and Health Education 1, that is PHE12 for the Diploma in Junior Primary Education. Welcome to this class. I hope you will enjoy it and find it worthwhile in your teaching process. Do not hesitate to contact me should you have any questions or uncertainties regarding this subject. I'm going to discuss the outlines of the study guide to introduce you to the subject. Thereafter, it is your responsibility to acquaint yourself with the content and make it your own. Now, the module description, the aims, upon completion, you should examine PE issues for the pre-primary learners. You should explain how to develop gross motor movements of junior primary learners. You should clarify how to develop fine muscles. You should describe body parts, their functions and dominance preferences. Also examine symptoms of a tense and relaxed body. Analyze issues regarding healthy nutrition and learning, and examine the teaching learning of the physical education syllabus for the pre-primary phase as well as for grade 1. Now, the module assessment and quality insurance. During 2016, one assignment of 100 marks for modules of 8 credits will be written. 50% semester marks should be obtained to write exams. And the exams consist of one paper of 2 hours, which equals to 100 marks. 60% of the exam marks plus 40% of the semester mark equals the final pass mark, and that should be 50%. A sub-minimum of 50% must be obtained in the exams. Setting and marking of exam papers are moderated. Now, the module requirement and expectations. IOL, contact and practical classes are compulsory for you. Use the study guide, prescribed study materials and recommended website information. All assignments must be handed in on time, but during special circumstances should be communicated with IOL in time, should you not do it in time. Dishonesty and plagiarism, that means you mustn't write the words exactly how they are in the study guide. That is prohibited. Manage your study time well and understand the content before you start learning. Admission to exams depend on successful attainment of your continuous assessment and semester mark. The study guide, the time, there are 8 credits, which equals to 80 hours of notional learning. So commit yourself, allow enough time to work through the whole study guide. Use your study guide as main source of information. The study guide consists of 8 units. Study each one thoroughly and do not leave out any content. Each unit consists of a table of content, introduction with overview of the unit, activities and answers to the activities at the end of the unit. The study support, you have received all the necessary study materials. First of all, read through the material, then read the assignment, read the expected learning outcomes. That is what you should know after each unit. The learning outcomes is a guide for you to know what is expected of you to know and to understand. Then plan your study actions to have enough time to do assignments, to study and for revision. Follow the guidelines given in the units and do not leave out certain content. Other support you have, face-to-face sessions, IOL resource centers, feedback on assignments, and contacting your tutor, that is me. The VERBS thinking processes That's very important to look for the table of verbs found in tests and exams to know what is expected from you. For example, analyze, the word analyze means to examine information in detail, to discover the main ideas, components, patterns, or relationships. You should know these verbs. This table of verbs is found at the front of your study guide and is very important when answering questions. Then there are also icons used in each unit. On the page just before the start of Unit 1 is an explanation of the icons used in each unit. There are 4 icons. Study them and take note what each icon indicates. Unit 1, now we come to the units of the study guide. Study the learning outcomes at the beginning of the unit. Make sure you understand and know these outcomes. In this unit, will be explored the benefits of physical education as part of holistic, that is whole body, soul and mind development. Unit 1, the physical education opportunities for pre-primary learners. There's an introduction, the learning outcomes, the learning activities. You can follow that in your study guide to find that. Now, Unit 1.1, the syllabus, rationale and aims of physical education for junior primary phase as part of holistic education. And thereafter, the aims of physical education, the aims of the physical education curriculum for junior primary and physical health. Now, important to know what the aims of physical education are. The aims and broad objectives are discussed here. And certain stages of their lives, learners should be able to achieve goals. For example, at the age of 7, the child should be able to walk on a line and skip on both feet. That is very important to know when teaching physical education, and study all these mileposts. We're going back to the unit, the content, academic performance, social assimilation, mental health, why children need physical education, how physical education for the junior primary phase contributes to cross-curricular learning outcomes, physical development aims for pre-primary learners, the importance of playful activities in the pre-primary phase, the contribution to physical education of fundamental playful activities. Important here, while physical activity is known to improve learners' physical fitness and lower their risk of obesity, new research suggests it may also help them perform better in school. Study why children need physical education and the aims of physical development for pre-primary learners, and make sure to study the learning activities given at the beginning of each unit. We go back to the content. 1.7, the opportunities for indoor and outdoor play exercises and how physical development is involved in each. The opportunities for indoor exercises, the opportunities for outdoor exercises and play. Some features of outdoor play is discussed. How outdoor play promotes development. Safety procedures to be applied for physical activities in schools, which are so important. Relaxation exercises after physical activities, and the assessment guidelines of physical development for junior primary learners. And then there's a summary of the content at the last page of the content for Unit 1 and feedback on learning activities. Now, important here is the study guide was drawn up in such a way that each heading and subdivision is clearly set out and speak for itself. For example, 1.6 indicates that the play references of younger versus older learners is discussed. And when you study, you keep this specific idea in mind and sum it up to study. At the end of each unit, the learning activities are discussed. Always do the activities yourself in order to make sure you understand the content. Then only compare your work with the points discussed at the end of each unit. You will then know whether you understand the work correctly. These learning activities form the basis of questions asked in the assignments and also the exams. So consider them very important. Then we come to Unit 2. You can look at the content of Unit 2, the development of gross motor movements for junior primary learners. 2.1, the development of the larger muscles of learners. For example, the arms and legs are discussed here. Activities to develop gross motor skills. Exercises to develop those larger muscles. The development of balance control during movements. How to develop coordination in learners to perform in games and sport, etc. How to develop eye-hand coordination in learners. How to develop eye-foot coordination in learners that they use during the classes during the other subjects also. Important, this unit will concentrate mainly on the child's physical growth, in particular on the development of large and small muscle movement and sensory and perceptual development. Children must develop rhythm and know what to do when something happens, like when he or she is going to fall. That is why they are taught these certain areas. Then 2.6, how to develop rhythm in learners. For example, during music or clapping. The body's relationship to space, signs and symptoms, developing spatial awareness. Activities to develop spatial awareness are discussed here. Assistance of parents or teachers, the difference between stationary and movable play equipment for large muscle development. Now there's a lot of equipment that are discussed here. For example, the jungle gym and the sandpit. And that's important that many practical exercises are discussed under these headings. For example, how to use swings or the slide or platforms to develop these gross motor exercises. Merry-go-round, the large pipe, the tunnel, old tires. And then there's a summary at the end of the unit as usual and feedback on learning activities. Important is to understand the importance of the different playground equipment, to work through these pages and take note of them. Again, do the learning activities of this unit and compare them with the given answers at the end of the unit only after you completed them yourself. Unit 3 is about the development of fine muscles. The development of fine muscles by manipulating small objects is discussed here. How to develop eye and tongue movements. So the subdivisions are eye movement and tongue movement. How to practice start and stop of an activity, also important. How the rhythm exercises could develop fine muscles. And then there's a summary. In this unit, we will make a study on how to develop fine muscles by manipulating small objects and how to develop eye and tongue movements. Fine motor movements involve the coordination of small muscles in the hands and the fingers. Strong fine motor skills are essential to complete tasks at school, such as writing, cutting, using a fork or spoon, threading beads, moving puzzles pieces, zipping, buttoning and tying shoelaces. This is why this unit is so important to know. Then we come to Unit 4. The body parts, their functions and dominance preferences are discussed here. 4.1 says the body parts and their functions. 4.2, how the body functions as a whole. Then dominance preferences, in other words, does the child use his left or right hand side to do certain tasks. How to teach learners their left and right sides and related directions accurately. Teaching left and right. Some fun activities to teach children left and right. Important in this is, in this unit, we will describe the various body parts and their functions, describe how the body functions as a whole, and also describe possible dominance preferences of hand, foot and eye, and how to name left and right sides as well as directions correctly. Unit 5 is about the physical education opportunities for pre-primary learners. Again, the headings speak for itself. 5.1 says symptoms of stress. 5.2, the causes of stress, how to manage stress, and the symptoms of a relaxed body. Also very important to know when you have your children in front of you. After you've completed studying this unit, you should be able to identify the symptoms of stress, explain the causes of stress, examine how one could manage stress, outline the symptoms of a relaxed body, examine how exercise and rest reduce stress, discuss how emotions, physical activities and values interact to cause or reduce stress. So, how exercise and rest reduce stress is 5.5, and then subdivisions are how exercise can reduce stress and how rest reduces stress. How emotions, physical activities and values interact to cause or reduce stress. How emotions cause stress. How emotional stress can be reduced, and how physical exercise can help to reduce stress. Very important to know these facts because you have to know your learners in front of you. And then at 5.7, the summary of the unit is discussed and feedback on learning activities. Important is to know is that in these subdivisions, there are also handy tips to know specifically for you as teacher on how to reduce stress yourself. But it also helps you as teacher to observe your learners closely for stress symptoms. Unit 6 are about the issues pertaining to healthy nutrition and living. So, healthy nutrition and physical health is discussed. 6.2, how healthy living involves dealing with emotional issues. How healthy living involves the maintaining of positive social relationships. Recently, people have been paying more attention to current issues in nutrition, which can affect your overall health and well-being. And in fact, we now realize that what and how much we eat may be directly linked to serious medical conditions like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and certain types of cancer. This is why this study material is very important to focus on healthy nutrition for physical as well as emotional health. Then 6.4 in your unit says how healthy living involves moral values and self-discipline, how your self-image impacts on your physical and emotional health. What is mental health or emotional health? How physical health is connected to mental and emotional health. What it means to live a healthy lifestyle. All these subdivisions speak for themselves, and you can just study them and sum them up and make it your own. Important here, this is a very practical and important part of physical education and should be understood and also known. For example, even my emotions can affect my health. Know and study the symptoms, like for instance a dry mouth, extreme tiredness and headaches. These are only a few symptoms of stress. And in order to be an observant teacher, you should know these facts. Then we page to Unit 7, where the teaching learning of physical education syllabus for the pre-primary phase is discussed. Now there we also get an introduction, the learning outcomes and the learning activities. Learning outcomes meaning what you should know at the end of each unit, and the learning activities are there for you to sum it up and make it your own. Now 7.1 is about myself. 7.2 is about my body. In this unit, we will focus on the teaching, learning activities and materials of the physical education sections based upon the following themes, and that you can look up in Unit 7. That's myself, my body, my family, my home, my school, my community, animals, water and plants. So we start with the learner himself or herself, then we go further with the body, the family, which is wider, even wider is or her home, the school, then the community, then animals, water and plants. That you find also in Unit 7. And finally, the 7.10 subdivision discusses the syllabus assessment guidelines for the pre-primary phase. That's very important and very practical, because assessment in this phase consists of informal continuous assessment done during normal classroom activities. All assessment is observational and aimed to identify if the learner has special needs and how to mobilize resources to meet them. Study this thoroughly, and most important, understand the content and how to do this assessment. We come to Unit 8, the teaching learning of the physical education syllabus for Grade 1. So Grade 1 is also discussed here, not only the pre-primary. 8.1 says the teaching and learning activities and materials of physical education for Grade 1 in terms of free running imitations of animals is discussed thoroughly here. 8.2, each subdivision explains the teaching and learning activities and materials of physical education for Grade 1 in terms of, and then there are certain points to be discussed. This 8.1 is of a range of muscular strength and endurance. Exercises for the feet, legs, abdomen, the back, shoulder and arms are given here. In this unit, we will examine the teaching and learning activities and materials of physical education for Grade 1 in terms of different subdivisions. That's free running imitations of animals, a range of muscular strength and endurance exercises, flexibility exercises, locomotor movements, jumping on the spot variation, balancing, activities with a partner, games in limited space, large group activities, and games and traditional games is discussed here. You can go to each one. Each one is a subdivision. 8.9, for instance, discusses the large group of activities. And then important, take note of all the practical ideas discussed in these pages. That's very practical lessons, and you can go through them. For example, songs and games are given to use during physical education classes to develop your learners physically, but also emotionally and cognitively. 8.10, traditional games are discussed. And then 8.11, the syllabus assessment guidelines for physical education in junior primary is discussed. Now you will see at the end of this Unit 8, the competency descriptions are discussed. In other words, when you assess your learner and you give him or her an A, that means the learner achieved 80% plus, and he or she achieved competencies exceptionally well. The learner is outstanding in all areas of competency. When you give your child a B, 70 to 79%, he or she achieved competencies very well. The learner's achievement lies substantially above average requirements, and the learner is highly proficient in most areas of competency. It's very important that you know these syllabuses and what they mean. For example, when you give your child a C, 60 to 69%, it means he or she achieved competencies well. The learner has mastered the competencies satisfactorily only in unknown situations and contexts. A D means 50 to 59%. He or she achieved competency only satisfactorily. The learner's achievement corresponds to average requirements. The learner may be in need of learning support in some areas. An E means 40 to 49% and means he or she achieved the minimum number of competencies to be considered competent. The learner is in need of learning support in most areas. And a U, the symbol U, means 0 to 39%, and it means ungraded. The learner has not been able to reach a minimum level of competency, even with extensive help from the teacher. The learner is seriously in need of learning support. These facts are very important, and you should know them and understand them. Now, in conclusion to the study guide, this is just an overview of the study material to help you understand what is expected from you in this subject. Enjoy the journey through this study guide. Do it systematically and over a period of time without rush. In other words, you should use at least 80 hours to study this study guide. So start studying early and in time. Good luck, and make the best of this fantastic opportunity.